Hey guys, it's Jodak here. I want to talk about something. I don't know if it bothers you, but it bothers me, and I really want to bring this to Blizzard's attention. And hopefully, there's a workaround or something they can add. And part of the limitations of your skill setup, it could possibly be due because the game was ported to console, or basically because they worked off Diablo 3, which was, I think, a bad concept because Diablo 3 also had limited skills. But when it comes to Diablo 4, it feels even worse. And I'll also explain why it feels bad for Barbarian. I haven't a lot of time to play. I'm more like a casual to semi-hardcore player because of the time differential. But yeah, let's talk about the Barbarian. You have a very powerful melee class, but you need to get to your enemies, right? So you need mobility skills. You need your war cries to beef you up, especially if you're going to try World Tier 2. Now, people will say, don't play World Tier 2 unless you want more of a challenge. So obviously, you would die, right? Because the game doesn't have vertical scaling, it has a form of horizontal scaling, which is another issue. But let's go back to the skills. Let me talk about what frustrates me about the skills. If you go all the way to the top, here's the first issue with the Barbarian class. You've a set of 4 skills which you need to use on your left click to generate your fury, regardless if they are good, regardless if you actually want to use them according to like a weapon playstyle. Because, for example, this is the only dual wielding skill sort of out there. If you use Bash, you use both weapons. If you select them to use your dual wielding weapons, but they hit one at a time, it's not the same. But regardless, you need to have one of these 4 on your left click to generate fury, which is very frustrating. So of the 6 skills you have here, 1 is already taken. Of the 6 slots, 1 is already taken. Okay, so that will be your basic skill. And when you put in enough points, you come down here to your core skills, right? Which are quite cool. Now you have another issue with the Barbarian. Say, for example, you want to use these 3 skills. You like them very much. You like how they feel. The problem is these 3 will take 3 slots. The other issue is you need something like Whirlwind or Upheaval to have some AoE damage. Because it feels quite bad. You will find it quite difficult to clear waves, especially on World Tier 2 if you want to have more of a challenge. Now you come down here, which is the next set. This is defensive skills. These are your core skills, and I think these was called, your basic skills. Your defensive skills are very useful, and they're very powerful synergies. Like if you take Ground Stomp and you take the last additional talent, it can reduce your ultimate cooldowns. And when a mob surrounds you, you can stun them with Ground Stomp and try to get out of it, or use your dash, which is great. Now you have this awesome ability called Rallying Cry. It helps movement speed and resource generation. Now you'll notice this is 4 new skills. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skills. Obviously, I'm not saying that you should be able to select all of them and have a tab of 20 skills down there. But to my point, you need mobility and you need CC, you need resource generation. So automatically, if I have to pick 1 or 2 of these, you are sort of losing out to the Barbarian feel and Barbarian kick. In my opinion, if you come down here, you have brawling skills. So a classic Barbarian would be able to stomp and leap into battle. That's just how I feel about it. So these 2 skills, I feel like I need them every time. But if you're playing the game and you don't have war cries, you're missing out on DPS here, you're missing out on resource generation here, you're missing out on some tankiness here, especially if you need Fortify to trigger your overpower attacks, unless you take this extra trait on the skill of Bash. So let's go down to weapon masteries. Here you have a lot of powerful abilities and more damage being unlocked. And I love this skill, Death Blow. I think there's nothing that feels as good than putting out extreme amounts of DPS and killing one enemy at a time. I feel this skill could have been improved. Like every time you get a kill, you sort of ramped up some more damage to ensure the next kill. Especially on weaker enemies, I love it, but it always feels like I have to hit a guy a few times and then use the ability. I also don't like the targeting of the ability. It sometimes just hits the closest guy instead of the weakest guy, which if it would have been nice, because in a big group you can't really get, and then you kind of waste your abilities, and then all your abilities are on cooldown. So let's go back to the ultimates. I like the ultimates. I like the fact that you can't select all three. I like that they are impactful. So this is quite cool. I like that they are not so far removed from the original Barbarian. It identifies with the Barbarian, especially Call of the Ancients. I love this ability, which is so unique and new, and it's quite powerful. So this is cool. I like this. But now when you come back to synergies, you would love to have Stomp, to have this ability to reduce your cooldown. The second issue I have is you would love to have Leap, because if you have this second trait on Leap, you generate extra Fury. So constantly you will have two issues with the Barbarian. You either won't be fast enough to get to range enemies, which are cancer, or you won't be tanky enough to tank most of the mobs to do enough DPS. However, my criticism also comes because I was playing World Tier 2, and obviously I wanted a challenge, and it was an effective challenge, especially considering how most of the bosses are so anti-melee. You can't stand in their gunk, they put auras on the ground, they slow you, and so it becomes a stat check, but you're unable to stat check them. But regardless, when I played in World Tier 1, the game became stupidly easy. Maybe because I played the class from the beginning in World Tier 2. What I don't like is they're taking away abilities. You feel like you're being robbed abilities or forced to select abilities to play a certain style, and even the certain style doesn't feel like it matches up properly. The synergies doesn't match up properly. I don't know. Maybe I haven't played enough. Like I said, I'm only level like 26. But this frustrates me as a casual player, and part of that problem is, if I want to use a bunch of damaging abilities because I like it very much, especially on weaker mobs, I can't do that. I really can't. And when you fight elite mobs or maybe bosses, you need something like the war cries for Fury Generation. You need something to be more tanky or to get fortified to get your overpower attacks going off. So within the complexity of the so-called skill tree, it's not as complex, and then also it does not feel like it synergizes properly, and then it robs the player of like if I play PoE, or even in the old Diablo 2, I didn't feel so restricted because you could put your abilities on your skills on F1 to F8. Now here, if I press S, let me just do this quickly. If I press S, I have this cool amulet that gives me +1 to all defensive skills, which is great because now I have a bunch of defensive skills, and they don't cost me any points, and they're very useful, right? But the problem is I only have 6 slots, and I really love Leap, and I really love Stomp. It feels like it's where's Stomp? It's part of the Barbarian sort of kit and how Barbarian functions, right? It's like the OG Barbarian used to leap, and it sort of plays into the fantasy of this powerful melee warrior. But now it feels like you're being robbed, right? Because in PoE Diablo 2, I could select a bunch of abilities and skills, and I can try them all out, and I can keep the ones I like. In Undecembered, you have a feature where I think you press tab, or there's a button, and then it switches this set. So you can have like 2 or 3 or 4 sets of different skills. So you would have one that's more like single target based. You have one that has more EOE skills. You have one that has your war cries and your defensive skills. And I think that would be great. But the fact that you need your one basic skill as your Fury Generation, that already takes up slot. If you like what's this, Hammer of the Ancients, and you wanted to add Upheaval, just because you found the abilities cool and you like clearing mobs with these abilities, you can't, because you have to keep on the other slots, especially like Storm for your CC, or if you like Leap. For example, if I took Leap, which I like, I don't have it selected anymore, I changed my skills, but I had Stomp and Leap, and then I had a War Cry. Now, if you add the ultimate, I had to choose between the ultimate and the, what's this ability, which I love so much, the Death Blow. I can't select them all. Because there's only 6 skills. So Blizzard, please, can you change it? Can you at least give us a way to have up to 8 different sets of skills where I set up different skills, or maybe not 8, eight's too much, maybe 1 to 4, 1 to 3, where I press tab and it will give me a new row of skills. As long as I have the skill selected or unlocked, I can use it. Understand late game it won't make sense, right? Because obviously you would max out your basic ability. Like here it's 2 out of 5. You would max it out to 5 out of 5 for proper damage. I totally get it, but the new skill system feels like it's robbing me of truly playing with the skills I like. Especially considering that the game has a sort of more like a horizontal scaling and not a vertical scaling, because everything levels up with you. So technically you're getting weaker, you just get more tools to deal with them. But now those tools are limited, very much limited. I also know it's a balancing issue, because if you could activate all your war cries and do all your CC, it would make it too easy, I guess. But I don't know. Please consider it. Please change it. I'll play some more. I don't know. It really hurts. Even the fact, because you're this weapon master as the barbarian, some of your skills are specifically only intended for like a bludgeoning weapon, like a two-handed hammer, and that is great. But now, if you look at your basic weapon, especially if you wanted to be a two-handed wielding warrior, you only have this skill that really feeds into that. I don't know. Maybe my criticism is not fair. But yeah, that's sort of the thing. Even when it comes to your weapons, let me close this. When it comes to your weapons, say this is my most powerful weapon, it would make sense to have it being used in all of my skills, right? So it makes your weapons redundant. Of course, I know the different items adds additional bonuses to your various skills or to various specific attacks like overpower or vulnerable or critical strike damage and so on. But yeah, it doesn't feel thought out very well, and it makes it quite difficult to play into this whole thing. Because technically speaking, if I really wanted to min max, this is my strongest weapon, and then I would just use this for all my attacks, and that's it. And sort of it takes away from stuff. Especially also considering that certain skills would work better with a certain weapon, but not as good with another weapon. Like Frenzy would work very well with a dual wielding, because it's even in fact it's the only skill that uses dual wielding. However, yeah, I guess that is more my criticism, that you can't really use all the abilities you would like. You constantly are sacrificing abilities that are fun to play with, or that you need for mobility. Fun to play with meaning like stomp or leap, or you need some mobility and resource generation, some DPS, some tankiness, and so you're constantly sacrificing stuff out. And you would find parts of the game are very stupidly easy, and then if you play World Tier 2, it's a cool experience because it's very difficult, but then it becomes quite too difficult, especially considering that you can't really have multiple skills to play with. Obviously, the Barbarian is item dependent, and some areas I went to were a bit high level, but still, I think it is something that takes away from the gamer's experience. It takes away from the feel of a Barbarian, that I can't stomp and leap and kick, and maybe use one or two of my main attack abilities, because I have to have a Fury Generation skill. And then I have to decide which one I want. Instead of if I can afford the points to at least have some of the abilities, that I can put it in a slot like this, and then just press tab, and it gives me a new row of skills, and then I can swap between them. At least 1, 2, 3 would be nice. Obviously, there's a limitation on your skill points, because you have to decide what you want. But it feels like it's not thought out so well, and it robs a bit from the Barbarian experience, especially when it comes to more difficult areas, because you're melee. You would need your mobility, you would need your CC, you would need some DPS or regeneration, and Yeah, but then again, that's just a semi-casual, semi-hardcore player's opinion. I really hope they add something like on the December where you can have press tab and have a new row of skills. So you at least have two rows of skills which you can use, and then play with the abilities you like. Um, I understand also the idea is to master, to pursue mastery and try a certain unique build. I also find the tree a bit scattered. Um, Maybe the design of the tree was not as good. But yeah, I'll play some more before I give some criticism. But yeah, that is my main thing I don't like. But I've only played the Barbarian. I already can see just by playing Barbarian World Tier 2 that a range class would have so much more fun, and would play the game so much easier. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Please, Blizzard, look into it. Hopefully, it's not impossible to fix, and it won't become a balancing crisis if you allow Barbarian to have a bit more range of can unlock more of a range of his abilities. Yeah, thank you guys. Vortex out.
I need more fury. I'm not ready yet. I don't have enough fury. I'm not ready yet. I'm out of fury. I must wait. Not ready yet. I must wait. I'm low on fury. Not ready yet. Not ready yet. I need more fury. Not ready yet. Just wait. Not ready yet. Not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
Your field stabilized.